You're watching India Today. I'm Nabila Jamal. Massive outrage has been reported near Rajasthan's Karauli as BJP's rally has been blocked by Rajasthan police. BJP Nyay Yatra that was led by BJP MP Tejasvi Surya has been blocked near Karauli. Tejasvi Surya led the rally there, was going towards Karauli to be meeting with the family of the victims of communal violence that took place in Karauli a week ago. BJP delegation in the rally claims that there is no Section 144 imposed in the area, but still the state police blocked the rally. Remember, communal tensions erupted in Karauli a week ago after alleged stone-pelting and arson took place in that area. Let me quickly cut across to Dev Ankur, who's joining us right from the protest site for more on that. Dev, give us an understanding. What's the commotion on ground? Tejasvi Surya is leading a protest yatra just along the route of where the communal clashes happened in Karauli. He's been blocked off. What's the reason?
नेता कार्यकर्ता तेजस्वी सूर्य के साथ मौजूद है। तेजस्वी, क्या आपकी वार्ता हुई है राजस्थान के जो एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन है उनसे, क्या कुछ कह रहे हैं वो आप? गहलोत सरकार पीएफआई जैसे एक्सट्रीमिस्ट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को, आतंकवादी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को कोटा में, जैसलमेर में, बीकानेर में जुलूस निकालने के लिए परमिशन देती है, पर युवा मोर्चा जैसे लोकतांत्रिक संगठन को शांतिपूर्ण तरीके से संवैधानिक रूप में प्रोसेशन करने के लिए परमिशन नहीं देता। ये इनके डबल स्टैंडर्ड्स के तुष्टीकरण राजनीति है। इसके विरुद्ध युवा मोर्चा का लड़ाई। तो अगर पुलिस या जिला प्रशासन आपको आगे नहीं देने जाने देती तो क्या करेंगे? आगे का क्या रुख रहेगा? मैं अशोक गहलोत से पूछना चाहता हूं, युवा मोर्चा को परमिशन क्यों नहीं दे रहे आप? क्यों नहीं दे रहे? क्या हमारे हाथ में क्या पत्थर है? क्या हमारे हाथ में हथियार है? पीएफआई उन जैसे संगठनों में जब वो जुलूस निकालते हैं, हाथ में हथियार होते हैं, लौंग होते हैं, पत्थर होते हैं, उन लोगों को आप परमिशन देते हैं? लोकतांत्रिक संगठन को आप परमिशन नहीं देते? क्या हम यहाँ से जाके जो हिंदू वो पीड़ित उनसे बात करके उनको विश्वास दिलाना गैर कानूनी काम है क्या? क्यों रोक रहे हो आप? आज हम तय किया, या हम करौली जाएंगे या हम सामूहिक रूप से हम गिरफ्तार करके हम जेल जाएंगे। तो अर्पिता, आपने सुना तेजस्वी को कहते हुए कि सामूहिक रूप से गिरफ्तारी देंगे, नहीं तो करौली जाएंगे। तेजस्वी ये बताएं कि 2 तारीख को हिंसा भड़की थी करौली में, आज 13 तारीख हो गई है। आप आज क्यों आए हैं? पहले क्यों नहीं आए थे आप? पिछले 10 दिन से भारतीय जनता पार्टी और युवा मोर्चा के कार्यकर्ता हर प्रकार से ये जो हिंसा पीड़ित थे उन लोगों के सहायता के लिए हम काम कर रहे थे। मैं आपसे पूछना चाहता हूं, आप अभी तुरंत जाके जो हमारे कार्यकर्ता वहां एसएमएस अस्पताल में एडमिट हुए आईसीयू में, उनसे पूछिए युवा मोर्चा उनका कैसे देखभाल कर रहा है। पिछले 10 दिन में प्रदेश अध्यक्ष जी के जो डेलीगेशन था वो डेलीगेशन गया, फैक्ट फाइंडिंग कमेटी गया, कल वसुंधरा जी गई थी। युवा मोर्चा और पार्टी कांग्रेस का आरोप है कि बीजेपी दंगा राजनीति कर रही है। राजस्थान में चुनाव करीब है, उससे पहले दंगा राजनीति कांग्रेस पार्टी जब से जन्म हुई तब से आज तक ये दंगा राजनीति कांग्रेस पार्टी करते आई है। दैट इज देयर मेनस्टे, दैट इज देयर स्टेपल डाइट। द कांग्रेस सर्वाइव्स एंड थ्राइव्स ऑन पॉलिटिक्स ऑफ कम्युनलिज्म। तेजस्वी, आपने अभी तक जो बात की है बीजेपी के स्थानीय नेताओं से, कार्यकर्ताओं से, करौली में दंगा कैसे भड़का, उनका क्या कहना है आपको? दंगा होने से 3-4 दिन पहले पीएफआई ने लेटर लिखा है कि ऐसे ऐसे हो सकता है। पीएफआई जैसे टेररिस्ट एक्सट्रीमिस्ट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन एक लेटर लिखने के बाद भी गहलोत सरकार करौली में या अन्य प्रदेश में एक भी पुलिस का जो ठीक से व्यवस्था करनी चाहिए वो नहीं किया था। पत्थर ले जाने का जो पूरा साजिश था, दे सपोर्टेड देम, दे वर पार्ट ऑफ दिस कॉन्स्पिरेसी। ये लोग जो पत्थर लेके छत पर खड़े हुए थे तब क्या कर रहे थे ये पुलिस? आज हम सब लोगों को गिरफ्तार करने के लिए इतने उत्सुक है, तब क्या कर रहा था ये पुलिस? पर तेजस्वी is hand in glove with PFI. Tejasvi, Congress government is hand in glove with PFI in making these kind of conspiracies. नव संवत्सर के बाद रामनवमी का ओकेजन आया, उस पर्व पर देश में कई जगहों पर, भले ही वो मध्य प्रदेश हो, गुजरात हो, दंगे हुए और बार बार बीजेपी के ऊपर यह आरोप लग रहा है कि जिन प्रदेशों में चुनाव होने वाले हैं वहां पर दंगे एक ऑर्केस्ट्रेटेड प्री प्लान कॉन्स्पिरेसी के तहत करवाए गए। उत्तर प्रदेश में क्यों नहीं हुआ, असम में क्यों नहीं हुआ, कर्नाटका में क्यों नहीं हुआ? कर्नाटका में भी अगले साल चुनाव है, क्यों नहीं हुआ? एक स्टेटमेंट में, पॉलिटिकल स्टेटमेंट में लॉजिक होनी चाहिए भैया। ये बिना लॉजिक बात करने के लिए मैं कांग्रेस पार्टी के नाम में राहुल गांधी नहीं हूं। क्या आपको लगता है कि अशोक गहलोत सरकार के द्वारा ढील दी गई जिसकी वजह से दंगे हुए? क्या आपको लगता है कि ढील बरती गई अशोक गहलोत सरकार के द्वारा राजस्थान में तभी दंगे हुए? पीएफआई जैसे ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस को अशोक गहलोत सरकार पोषण कर रहे हैं, पाल रहे हैं, इनको बढ़ावा दे रहे हैं। अपीजमेंट गहलोत ने पिछले 4 साल में, 3 साल में, उनके पूर्ण टर्म में तुष्टीकरण राजनीति को अत्यंत गरिमा स्तर पर ले चुके हैं। What we are witnessing today is a result of this vote bank politics, appeasement politics. आगे का क्या रुख रहेगा? आप यहाँ सड़क पर बैठ गए हैं, क्या कोई बात हो रही है आपकी जिला प्रशासन से? क्या कह रहे हैं पुलिस? क्योंकि यहाँ पर आपका कहना है कि धारा 144 नहीं लगी हुई, फिर भी आपको यहीं पर रोक दिया गया है, आगे नहीं जाने दिया जा रहा। ये तानाशाही सरकार है। हम बहुत स्पष्ट किए हैं, कल ही हम स्पष्ट किए थे कि युवा मोर्चा का जो डेलीगेशन है, युवा मोर्चा का जो न्याय यात्रा है, वो यहाँ से करौली तक जाएगा। ये हमारा प्रण है, ये हमारा संकल्प है। हम आज या करौली जाएंगे या सामूहिक रूप में हम जेल जाएंगे और पूरे राजस्थान में जेल भरो आंदोलन करेंगे। देखेंगे कितने लोगों को, कितने युवाओं को अशोक गहलोत सरकार ने जेल में भर देगा। ये हमारा प्रण है, ये हमारा संकल्प है कि यहाँ से करौली जाएंगे, नहीं तो सामूहिक गिरफ्तारी देंगे। ऐसा कहना है बीजेपी के सांसद तेजस्वी सूर्य का। बीजेपी के सांसद मनोज राजौरिया भी हमारे साथ में हैं। बीजेपी के प्रदेश अध्यक्ष डॉक्टर सतीश पूनिया हैं। पूनिया जी, आगे की क्या कार्यवाही रहेगी पार्टी की तरफ से?
देखिए, बहुसंख्यक लोगों पर अत्याचार हुआ है। हम लोगों ने मांग की थी, गवर्नर साहब को ज्ञापन दिया था, न्यायिक जांच की मांग की है। जो निर्दोष लोग हैं उनको प्रताड़ित नहीं करने की मांग की है। जो दोषी लोग हैं खुलेआम घूम रहे हैं उनको गिरफ्तारी की बात की। और बड़े पैमाने पर लोगों का माल का नुकसान हुआ है, उनकी संपत्ति का नुकसान हुआ। अभी तक सरकार का एक बंदा चूक।
आप सुन सकते हैं तेजस्वी सूर्या ने बोला है अपने कार्यकर्ताओं को बैरिकेड पार करने के लिए। तो आप देख सकते हैं किस प्रकार की स्थिति यहाँ पर उत्पन्न हो सकती है। यहाँ पर जो बीजेपी के कार्यकर्ता हैं, बीजेपी के नेता हैं, वो इकट्ठे हुए हैं और जो स्थिति यहाँ पर उत्पन्न हो सकती है वो एक आमने सामने की स्थिति है। और
All right, there you have it. Karauli, we're seeing a big tamasha that's unfolding right after Tejasvi Surya, along with a bunch of BJP leaders who've tried to carry out a protest rally there in Karauli. Remember, Karauli is the same area in Rajasthan where huge communal clashes erupted after a procession, a religious procession that was moving towards that area. It was moving through the Muslim-dominated area when stone-pelting was reported, eventually erupting in violent clashes along that area. Here, we're looking at Tejasvi Surya, who's the BJP Yuva Morcha president, along with a bunch of the BJP leaders who are now protesting away from Karauli because they tried to venture into Karauli in protest, but the Rajasthan government has stopped them on their tracks. Despite no Section 144 being imposed, here is the police of Rajasthan who aren't allowing the BJP leaders, including Tejasvi Surya, to venture into that highly communally sensitive area at this point. Karauli, in fact, saw huge violence that unfolded post that religious procession which turned violent. And now Tejasvi Surya sitting almost 40 kilometers away from Karauli, demanding that the protest rally pass Karauli, also asking for all those alleged rioters to be brought to book. Let me quickly cut across to Himanshu Mishra on this.
हम यहाँ पर प्रदर्शन कर रहे हैं और जैसा कि हमारे राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष आदरणीय तेजस्वी सूर्या जी ने निर्देश दिया कि हम करौली जाएंगे, नहीं जाएंगे तो सामूहिक रूप से गिरफ्तारी देंगे, या तो करौली जाएंगे या जेल जाएंगे।
Well, there you see mega showdown that's currently happening in Karauli. Tejasvi Surya, who's the BJP Yuva Morcha president, who's currently right there at the spot. He's about 40 kilometers away from Karauli. He's been demanding that the protest rally, along with many of his BJP workers and several other BJP leaders of Rajasthan, be allowed to carry out a protest march along the Karauli region, which is currently highly communally sensitive. But we're looking at the Rajasthan police that have struck that protest down, stopped them short right on their tracks, not allowing the protest to move any forward. Massive outrage now growing over Rajasthan's Karauli and the communal violence that took place over a religious procession that passed through the Muslim-dominated area. Here is Tejasvi Surya, who's demanding for all those rioters to be brought to book. Remember, BJP has been blocked from meeting the victims of the families as well. In Karauli region, several families who belong to the Hindu community were allegedly targeted. Stones were pelted. Many of them lost properties. Even several of them were injured. At a time like this, Tejasvi Surya wants to go with a bunch of the BJP leaders and a number of workers from Rajasthan to Karauli, which is currently very sensitive, to meet with the victim's family. But here is the Rajasthan police who's blocked them off at least 40 kilometers away from that site. In fact, BJP's Nyay Yatra, which is now being led by BJP MP Tejasvi Surya, has been blocked right near Karauli, close to about 40 kilometers away itself. The police have now stopped them short. They're not allowing them to venture into the Karauli region. Remember, Karauli, highly sensitive, a Muslim-dominated area. When a religious procession was being carried out along those regions, there be heard of stone pelting that took place, eventually leading to massive communal clashes. Many people injured, a lot of loss to property. And now Tejasvi Surya wants to be meeting with the victims' families, many victims who belong to the Hindu community who are living in the Karauli region. Tejasvi Surya seeking to meet the families of those victims, but Rajasthan police not allowing them to venture into Karauli. It is already a sensitive region, but Rajasthan police who say that they've taken stock of the situation. There's a heavy police deployment along the Karauli region as well, but has refused to allow Tejasvi Surya and his men, all belonging to the BJP, to enter Karauli for a protest. These are live visuals coming in, as you see on your screens, where police have been trying to stop any kind of protests along the Karauli region. Many of the BJP workers, supporters, Tejasvi Surya himself, who's a Yuva Morcha president of the BJP, who's been stopped short right on the tracks of Karauli. Karauli right now has, in fact, is very sensitive, sees heavy police deployment, police there trying to stop any kind of protest that may just erupt in that region after those violent clashes that took place post a religious procession turning violent. Remember, Tejasvi Surya is leading this rally and he was all set to head towards Karauli to meet with the family of the victims of that communal violence that took place just about a week ago. Now, the BJP and its delegation have been asked to stop at least 40 kilometers away from Karauli itself, despite no Section 144 being imposed in that area. Now, the BJP asking for why they've been stopped when there's no Section 144 being imposed. This is injustice. Let me cut across to Dev, who's joining us. He's in fact tracking those developments there. Dev, we see Tejasvi Surya along with the BJP delegation there who've been stopped short right on their tracks, at least 40 kilometers away from Karauli. The police, despite not imposing Section 144, have stopped BJP workers and the top leaders from venturing into that communally sensitive zone. What's the justification the Rajasthan government is giving for this?
Well, the Rajasthan government clearly maintains that the situation continues to be volatile. It is tense in Karauli, and these people cannot be controlled if they enter or get into the periphery of Karauli, and that is why they had to be stopped well in advance, and that is why they have been stopped near the Dausa border. The situation continues to be tense out here. There has been confrontation that has happened between the BJP leaders, the likes of BJYM National President and BJP MP Tejasvi Surya, the BJP State President Dr. Satish Punia, and several, in fact hundreds of BJP workers and leaders who were trying to move towards Karauli have been stopped out here in Dausa itself, and the police initially tried to maintain calm out here, tried to ensure that dialogue could happen between the senior police officers and the BJP leaders. But then when that was not successful, the police out here has resorted to mild lathi charge, and the BJP workers and leaders have been pushed back. In fact, as of now, even as I speak, buses have arrived out here to take these BJP leaders away from here. They could be put in detention very soon in the next few minutes, and it remains a tense situation out here even as I speak. In fact, hundreds of workers who have been trying to push the police personnel trying to cross the barricades have been taken in detention by the police, and they can be taken away from here to a secluded place.
Well, you know, Section 144 has not been imposed, Dev, and that's exactly the string that the BJP is pulling now, saying despite no Section 144, what's the reason for you to stop us from meeting with the families of those victims? Now, give us an understanding, how many victims are there in the area? Meaning, how many people were injured? What kind of violence did we see in the Karauli region? What kind of property damage has been reported?
Well, on April 2, when the Nav Samvatsar, on the occasion of Nav Samvatsar, hundreds of RSS workers from the Hindu organizations were moving and carrying out the procession of Shobha Yatra. When that procession was moving from the old city area of Karauli, at that time, it came under heavy stone pelting, allegedly by people who were already standing on rooftops, on terraces. And thereafter, the situation really, plummeted. In which at least 70 shops were burnt. Several vehicles were also burnt. More than 40 people got injured. One of them was seriously injured. He was shifted to Jaipur's SMS hospital, and the situation even now continues to remain under control but volatile, and that is why there is a curfew in place. The internet ban continues out there, and the police do not want these people to move towards Karauli because, as I mentioned, the situation the police believes can deteriorate if these BJP leaders and workers make provocative statements or are allowed to go over there.
Well, you know, Dev, as we see here, this is another ruckus that's being created by a bunch of the BJP leaders who are sitting there in protest. When I say ruckus, it's either way a very sensitive issue right now in Karauli, and then you have meters away huge protests that snowballed by the BJP itself, the Karyakartas, who are demanding for them to be allowed inside the Karauli region. How does the Rajasthan government plan on controlling and containing this? On one hand, you have Karauli to manage. On the other, you have the BJP workers and their protests only escalating.
Well, there is a tightrope walk which the Rajasthan government is having to walk over the Karauli incident. In fact, on the one hand, there is allegation of the Ghelot administration looking the other way, despite the fact that there was intelligence inputs that the kind of communal violence that happened in Karauli could have happened. Also, the district administration is being blamed for not being alert enough, of not keeping a tight vigil and not putting in check miscreants or elements which could have done or orchestrated the kind of communal violence that one saw in Karauli. On the other hand, the Ghelot government has also gone on offensive with several ministers, including the Rajasthan Chief Minister Ashok Ghelot himself blaming the BJP of indulging in danga politics or politics of communal violence. That is the kind of allegation that has been leveled. In fact, a senior minister in Ghelot government mentioned that BJP to dange ki rajniti karti hai. So that is the kind of statements that have been coming forth from the Congress's side. They have claimed that elections are due in Rajasthan next year, and before that, this is the kind of violence which has been orchestrated, which has been pre-planned by the BJP to ensure that there is polarization in the state and that it can reap the benefits of that.
Well, you know, so here you have Rajasthan leaders who are not owing up to the kind of violence that ensued. In fact, we see clearly a law and order failure that happened in the Karauli region when the communal violence took place. And did they not anticipate it? That's the question. Even if they want to point fingers at the BJP saying that this was orchestrated by the Bharatiya Janata Party, what was the Rajasthan police doing at that time? What was the Rajasthan intelligence doing while a procession was passing by and this went out of control? It was not like this was not expected. It's a Muslim-dominated area. You have a Hindu religious procession that is passing through the streets. Why was there not adequate security arrangements being deployed so that this situation could have been avoided? Should they not be taking responsibility for their failure there?
Well, that is the one question, a pertinent question which I've asked several senior police officers in the administration, and they mentioned that a special investigation team has been formed to look into all the aspects, and wherever the lacunae were, it is for that team to come out and report the findings of it. And they say that we do not want to comment on the course of investigation while the investigation is on, and that is why they have been tight-lipped on that question. But clearly this is a matter of fact that there were heavy stones which were kept on the terraces, on the rooftops, and as the procession was passing, why was it that the police was not aware of this kind of a thing, or was it colluding in it? If it was not aware, why was it that this kind of a gathering was allowed to pass from a minority dominated area despite knowing the fact that this kind of a flare-up could happen? Now, what the Congress government claims is that that the people who were a part of the procession were backed by the BJP or were a part of the RSS, and they
All right, thank you very much, Dev, for joining us with those details. But here we see quite some commotion over Tejasvi Surya and his BJP delegation. Many of the BJP workers who are insisting that they want to be allowed to venture into the Karauli region to meet with the victims' families. Rajasthan government claiming sensitivity in this entire region has stopped them short right on their tracks.